And we're back here to the 26th Annual Forest County Potawatomi Brush Run here at Crandon International. Looks like we've got 1,600 buggy on the line. The Lincoln Electric 1,600 buggies on the line. And we're going green flag racing out here in 1,600 buggies. Looks like we've got about 16, coincidentally, 1,600 buggies hitting this turn number one out here, the Forest County Potawatomi turn number one. Who's it going to be?
Looks like Keepers in turn number one.
Oh, he's getting a little bit of a challenge there.
No. That is not Keepers now. That is Bruce Fraley, I want to say. It's hard to see. A lot of different colors this year. New cars. We'll file it out as soon as we get it to you. Looks like that is the 321, I want to say.
No, that is John Fitzgerald, the 312, I believe.
Wow, Johnny Fitzgerald. Hasn't raced for multiple seasons, back in the saddle again here at Crandon International Off-Road Raceway. I know John's in the field, but I'm sure that
yeah, Tony Keepers, the man of the hour last year, starting things off, had the perfect season going. Just a dominating effort by Keepers most of last year, Brent.
Yeah, Tony Keepers very, very fast last season. Really taking off where he left off last year. Just out front, he's been very, very fast. And watch, that car just knows how to work. It's former Mark Steinhardt buggy. It really works well here at Crandon.
Yeah, so it is Fitzgerald leading. Tony Keepers there slotting into the second spot. Had the whole shot, and then right away Fitzgerald in 312 getting around him. It looks like the number 300 car there in the third spot. That is Craig Padel. So it is Fitzgerald, Keepers, Padel, 1, 2, 3. Look at that lead already. I mean, Tony Keepers, this guy was unbeatable pretty much all of last season. And, that's surprising to see him, have a gap that big back to second place, this early on. Tony Keepers, not a guy that is easy to get around one and two to gap like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you normally see Keepers running away and hiding, but right now, John Fitzgerald doing a fine job. That whole shot is huge here at Crandon.
Look at that dirt, just the way it's maturing today. I mean, that beautiful caked dirt there, that sun coming out, and we have some beautiful racing conditions. And, I think it makes this track not only a little bit quicker, but, if you do make a mistake, it makes it a little bit easier to recover because you don't have that soupy muck, that's off to the side of the track. Yeah,
definitely. That heavy, loamy clay is not where you want to be. And you heard in Chad Hord's interview, he said the minute you get out there, you lose multiple spots. And getting back into the single buggy division, yeah, they have horsepower, but it's nowhere near a Pro 2 or Pro 4 truck.
Head back through this back stretch. You're going to go around that U-turn. You're going to shoot him out down into turn number one in the front stretch here. Fitzgerald and Keepers 1 and 2. We are going to have a mandatory competition caution at the halfway point of this race. We'll regroup things. Looks like we got a bit of a battle there for that third and final podium spot.
John Fitzgerald coming off the barn turn, heading towards off-camber left-hand turn in front of the suites. A big drop-off jump here for Johnny Fitzgerald, running that fast line as you see Keepers going in front of the camera as we speak. It's like a hold your car in the 300. Could be Pidal.
Yeah, the 300 is Pidal, and that getting a little pressure there from the 328, I believe it was. That is Luger.
Yeah, Luger and Pidal, one heck of a battle going on. Luger going to that outside, trying to go outside, inside. And can he sneak it out? I don't know. That's where it gets tight on that exit right there.
Luger looks like he got the momentum, got the speed. Pidal there, though, just doing a great job playing defense.
Yeah, Pidal, he's come a long ways. He's doing a very nice job going through Argonne turn. you really have to set yourself up on the entry to get a good exit. As Pito climbing that steep hill, heading into the back section. One of my favorite parts on this 1.7 mile facility. So you watch Keepers go a little bit right before he turns left, carrying his momentum through that cushion, and it shows right there. If he wants to run down Johnny Fitzgerald, he really has to start picking Fitzgerald apart. As you see the rocks cleaning off the side of the track, and we already do see dust, Jim.
Yeah, look at dust. I mean, you don't generally think of short course and dust. That's more of a desert racing thing. But, yeah, the dust, it's starting to dry out so quick, and the track's going to get fast. But, instead of going through tear-offs, guys are going to be wiping their shield for dust, which is interesting. We don't normally see that, especially here at Crandon. But today, I think by the time we get to some of these big pro classes and you get that horsepower here, on the track, man, it's going to make things really, really interesting. Might get to see some conditions that we don't normally see out here.
Oh, exactly. And I think you're going to see some blue groove conditions, especially on that exit there in the gravel pit. Once we get more horsepower coming in and that dirt gets worked in, like you said, Jim, it's just very, very nice weather. As we came into the weekend, it didn't look too promising, but it's Crandon, great track crew, and they're making it one heck of a facility once again.
Yeah, they're making it a beautiful facility out here. And, as you started talking about that dust and things like that, Brent, I know, there's a couple of spots on this track as, we take this turn down into Argonne Corner, but there's a couple of spots on this track where, especially heading into the gravel pit, you start seeing some whoops mature as the track dries out. And, things start kind of getting rutted the more and more it dries out. And I think we might end up seeing, this track get actually really rough as the day progresses.
Yeah, definitely into the gravel pit, like we were saying earlier. You really have to watch because the braking bumps will get so tore up, and like you said, it'll be a rhythm section going in, so it upsets the car or the truck, and you really have to negotiate the turn.
So we're approaching the halfway point here. It is Fitzgerald leaving. Well, he's doing that as well. Leaving Tony Keepers in his dust right now. Tony Keepers there in the second spot. Man, it's been quite a clinic being put on by Fitzgerald in the number one spot early on. Looks like we got a shot there. That is the 3:21. Jeff Sakovitz, and getting a little pressure put on. That is Andy Vandenelsen putting the pressure on. They're going down in this gravel pit, as Brent Knight said. Be watching. There's some stutter bumps and brake chop. You see the rear of those cars.
Starting to form, yes.
Yeah, starting to kick up just a bit by the time we get to some of the later classes. And one of the classes is really noticeable, and it's Pro Light because they don't have that much suspension. It's going to be really interesting to see how that matures, throughout the day. Definitely one of the storylines to watch here is we keep clicking through laps and classes out here at Crandon. But right now we're at the midway point, and it is that 3-1-2. That is John Fitzgerald leading here in the Lincoln Electric 1600 Buggy division. We're at the halfway point in, few laps in. We got a few to go. We've got that beautiful Yokohama shod pace truck out here, bringing this 16-car field to this mandatory competition caution. We're going to do a little bit of re-racking, restacking, and we're going to go back to green flag racing here in just a few minutes. Once again, John Fitzgerald leading. That is Tony Keepers sitting there in the second spot. And I got to wonder, Brent, Tony Keepers, we know he knows how to win. The guy had a absolutely dominating 2018. One of the most impressive performances all year in any division was Tony Keepers. That being said, we know he knows what it takes to run up front. Was he holding back here in the first half of the race? We're going to see Tony Keepers drop the hammer here in the second half?
Yeah, I really do think so, Jim. I mean, you really do sit back there and you got to watch that car ahead of you. I say it over and over and time again, but you have to see what your competitor's doing. You know you can't follow him the rest of the race and think you're going to make a pass. You have to take a point on the track where you look, man, hey, I'm faster in the gravel pit. I have to dive to that bottom and try to make that block pass. But you have John Fitzgerald up front. The kid is no slouch. He knows how to drive a race car. He's been in the single buggy division multiple seasons. He hasn't been back for a while, ran super buggy, but he's showing he's fast enough to be up front.
Definitely fast enough to be up front. So does Fitzgerald leading. We got Tony Keepers in the second spot. Then in the third spot, we mentioned him a bit earlier. Haven't really talked about it. Been mighty quiet back there through the first half of the race. But we got David Luger, who we can't count out there in the third spot. You see him tucking right up against the back of Tony Keepers. Going to be trying to make a play there once we go green flag racing. We should see that pace truck pull off. We should be back to green flag racing here in just a few seconds. But definitely that top three, be looking for them as we go back to green. They are bunched up and they are ready to rock and roll as we're going to get this second half of the race underway in the Lincoln Electric 1600 Buggy main event for this Saturday of Father's Day weekend. Right now, all eyes are on John Fitzgerald looking to drop that hammer in between those two orange cones, and we're going to go back green flag racing for the second half of this race.
Boy, John Fitzgerald, he waited to the last cone to take off. And I mean, it kind of played guessing games with Tony Keepers. We'll see if Keepers can run down John Fitzgerald. Watch in the gravel pit.
Down that back section there, and looks like Fitzgerald, a little bit of a gap. And look, Keepers getting a little bit of pressure on him there from the third spot. Luger, it looks like, trying to make a play onto the inside there of Keepers, not able to make it stick as they go through that Polaris Razor gravel pit, over the Polaris Razor legendary leap.
Boy, Jim, it's hard to tell with all the dust if it's Keepers smoking or, oh no, it looks like Baczynski maybe in the 324. John Fitzgerald still well out in front after that restart. Tony Keepers looks like he fell off the pace just a little bit. John Fitzgerald running a fine line through Argonne Turn, heading back towards the starting line.
What an impressive performance so far by John Fitzgerald. Tony Keepers getting the whole shot. Then Fitzgerald, right out of turn number one, was able to get around Keepers. And, we keep waiting for that pressure from Keepers, but Fitzgerald just on point today, hitting his marks, not making any mistakes. You got to give a lot of credit to him as we're 5 laps in of 7 here in 1600 Buggy, but he is looking like the man to beat in 2019.
Yeah, definitely a fast race car driver. Like I said, he's not new to this game. Him and his father have been around the sport multiple years, came to Crandon time and time again, finally getting another chance to run in the single buggy class, and he didn't miss a heartbeat if you ask me. The kid's calm, cool, and collected, and he's got the points champion breathing right down his back.
Yeah, that's it. If anybody can force a mistake, it's a veteran like Tony Keepers, and you got to give John Fitzgerald a lot of credit. Not able to, Tony Keepers not able to put the pressure quite on, and, it's just a phenomenal drive there as we get to look back a little bit deeper into the field. It's some of the cars that we haven't talked about so far, but look at that gap. It is Fitzgerald over Keepers. That's a 319 there, it looks like, with Parsons having some issues pulling off. Going to see if he's able to get all the way off and it prevents the yellow flag from coming out. Looks like we're staying green momentarily. So we go back to the front. That is John Fitzgerald, the 312. Phenomenal effort out here at Crandon. Only a couple of laps remaining. Just an amazing drive being put on by him with the champ, Tony Keepers, in his rearview mirror. But it looks like a big gap. Looks like 6-8 car lengths at this point. I don't know, man. It's going to take a big mistake from Fitzgerald for Keepers to be able to soak up that gap, right?
Yeah, definitely going to take a big mistake, and otherwise some kind of catastrophic failure for Fitzgerald to lose that lead. But I'm just watching as this race progresses. Johnny Fitzgerald through Argonne Turn, and even in that back section, he's taken a different line than Tony Keepers, and on the exits, he's really just blown away and hiding on Keepers. But just as I say that, Keepers still in our view.
Yeah, you can't shake Keepers. Keepers just can't quite get enough momentum to make a charge there on the leader, and it's all about momentum in this class, and, all of them about identical horsepower. It's all about setup and finding your line, hitting your marks, and looks like Keepers is hitting the same marks as Fitzgerald. That's the problem. There's no speed to be gained.
No, definitely the cars are pretty equal. They're just holding that same gap throughout this race. Keepers driving in hard. But sometimes when you're driving in that hard, you blow the turn on exit like he did there a little bit. I mean, he didn't go too far, but he lost another spot.
Yeah, I think Keepers at this point just trying to find any advantage he might be able to have, because he hadn't been able to find something so far with 6 laps into this race. As a white flag comes out, John Fitzgerald going to take the white flag. One more to go here in the Lincoln Electric 1600 Buggy main event. And Tony Keepers there in the second spot. All kinds of pressure on Fitzgerald. This is going to be a shootout to the finish here in Crandon.
Johnny Fitzgerald going through the Argonne turn. Very nice tight exit once again, holding on to about a 9-10 car length gap. And John just doing what he needs to do, Jim. He really knows this track like the back of his hand. He did a lot of studying growing up. He knows what it takes to make these cars work. They build their own race cars. If you ask me, those colors are Bruce Fraley's colors from last year. So Bruce not in the field this year, so it's really, really cool to see John Fitzgerald come back, and he's leading this thing.
He is leading this thing, about half a lap to go here at Crandon. They're going to come down through Forest County Potawatomi, turn number 1 in front of the crowd. And man, half a lap remaining. Can Fitzgerald hang on for the W here at Crandon? We will find out in just a few minutes. But right now, Tony Keepers trying to find some momentum, trying to narrow that gap. But I don't know if it's going to be enough, Brent.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough, but every left-hand turn, it seems like Keepers is blowing a little smoke out the tailpipe. So you wonder if he might be having a little bit of issues with that motor, because Keepers normally, like last year, he would come on really hard on the end of the race. He had a couple close battles, but normally he ran away and hid. So today it's all about Johnny Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald up and over that Polaris Razor legendary leap. He's into the hairpin corner. One more corner to go for John Fitzgerald in the 3-1-2. And he is going to take the checkered flag. John Fitzgerald going to take the victory here at Crandon in the Lincoln Electric 1600 Buggy division. Tony Keepers going to hang on for the second place. It looks like Luger there in the third spot.
Yeah, definitely a good run for Luger.
There you go. Got a glimpse of that 312, and that car nice and pretty. Doesn't have any mud on it. A little dusty, man. Looks like these guys were running the mid-400 instead of the Crandon brush run. Sun coming out, and track conditions absolutely beautiful. And John Fitzgerald capitalizing on it, taking home the victory. Well-deserved. Great race by him. Almost wire to wire. He led the whole thing except for one corner.
Yeah, one corner, and once he got out in that lead, he just walked away from Tony Keepers. But John Fitzgerald, multi-time champion, if you ask me, in my eyes, because that boy, he knows how to drive and he knows how to build these cars. So how would you like it? Hey, Jim, come back your first time to Crandon and you put a W down on the board.
There's some people that drive their entire careers and never going to win at Crandon. You know, coming back and taking that W right away, that is definitely good news for him. As you know, we look at 2019 season as a whole here in the Midwest. Definitely going to help his championship chase. But I got to tell you, you know, you talk about this 1600 Buggy division, that second place finisher, Tony Keepers. You know, I bet after this, he got a little bit of chip on his shoulder. He's going to find something for tomorrow.
Oh, definitely. He'll go back and do his homework and try to get that little bit of speed out of that car. And if anybody can do it, Tony Keepers will bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Keepers, one of the veterans of this division. Great to see him take that second spot there. We're getting a glimpse of our crowd there. Looks like we got some tank tops, some short sleeves, some shorts on. Yesterday was nice, and everybody's in sweatshirts. It was a little bit cold, but sun coming out and beautiful racing conditions. I'm excited, man. We click through these divisions. We've got more to come. We start talking about the pro divisions. We got a lot of West Coast racers making the journey out here to the Midwest to run the full season this year. I think we've got just some great racing on tap today. But before we get to the rest of the races, we're going to throw it down to the third partner in our team, Tiffany Stone, who's going to catch up with our top three.
Thanks, guys. Hanging out down here with John Fitzgerald. John, hop up out of here. Take that big congratulatory win. It's always good to see you. It's nice to see you out in this car. I know you're driving for Bruce Fraley right now. So, John, you kind of took that spot. You didn't look back. How does it feel taking over a vehicle, you know, for one that you've worked with for so long and being able to do it justice by putting it on the top of the box today?
You know, Bruce gave me the opportunity to come out and drive his car, and we just came out to dominate, and that's what we did today. And I couldn't thank Bruce enough for letting me drive his wheel, and it was an awesome time out there. I just got to thank BFG Tires, JJ, all his crew, electrical contractors, FabTech for the hospitality, and Freeman's Carpet Service, and just again, Bruce Fraley for giving me the opportunity.
Well, he's done it here. You better tell Bruce I'm looking for some carne asada tonight for that win. Nice job, John Fitzgerald.
Come on, turn it up. Hear a knock on the door and the
All right, Tony Keepers, you are the 2018 champ. You're here on the second place box right now, pretty much trying to chase down John Fitzgerald. How different is it not knowing that Bruce Fraley's in there, but the same color scheme?
Well, we knew the car was really fast, and put a driver in there like that. John's a good driver. Watched him before I was racing. He won a lot of races, so got behind him. I guess we got some homework to do, find where we can get a little more speed and try to run him down tomorrow.
I was noticing in some of the laps you had a little bit of smoke coming out of that tailpipes. Anything in particular, or was just getting a little of a shakedown for the buggy?
Not really sure. Spotter was telling me about that. We're gonna have to look at it. We don't know if we got a head cover that's loose or something, maybe hitting exhaust, but we'll check it out tonight and make sure she's ready to rock tomorrow. I got a shout out to all my sponsors: Argon Lumber, J&J Insulators, DuPont, Sam's Concrete, Teddy G Auto Body. Got to see this. Lead Automotive, Reliable Repair, and Lewis Custom Sump Grinding. My crew, you guys are excellent. Lacey's put up with me. We got a baby that's 2.5 weeks old, and I've been leaving her at home while I'm in the garage for the last 3 weeks, and she's been a saint for not just leaving me or something, but she's been awesome. She's taking good care of the family. Rick and Jeff and Lane and Jesse, Leaper, Susie, you guys have been great. I couldn't do it without you.
Well, you've done it here. I know you're going to take some notes and look over that stuff. Come back strong for tomorrow. Good job, Tony Keepers. All right, Craig, taking the third place spot here on the podium. Track conditions are getting a little bit better out there. You guys were on the long course, 8 full laps. Any part of that course giving you a little bit of difficulty today?
Not really. Just got to keep myself calm and try catching these guys. They're fast.
When you're trying to catch them, obviously they're taking some right lines. They know which one they're going. A little bit of blue grooves coming out here. Did you try to take some of their same lines, or just take a little bit of notes and kind of run your own race?
Kind of ran my own race. Wasn't quite close enough to see their lines with the dust. So, I'd like to thank my sponsors: HBI, Peshiel National Bank, Bernard's Cheese, the Holter family. I got to thank my wife. Can't do this without her. It's a big part of it.
Well, you've done it here. A big congratulations for your top 3, and back up to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Tiffany. Yeah, great race there in the Lincoln Electric 1600 Buggy.